Well, new concerns today over the number of soldiers voting overseas. The U.S. military sees a huge drop in absentee ballot requests this election season by service members ahead of this November election. In Virginia alone, there's been a 92% drop in such requests. Why? It's happening despite the implementation of a 2009 voting law, which was supposed to help military voters get their absentee ballots overseas. Eric Eversole is the founder of the Military Voter Protection Project. He is not happy. Eric, why? Why is it so low? 92% drop in Virginia, a heavily military state?
Yeah, it's really shocking, but most of the fingers point straight to the Pentagon. The new law that was passed in 2009 was supposed to help make it easier for our service members to register and request an absentee ballot. The Inspector General issued a report, of course, about 3 weeks ago that indicated that the Pentagon did not implement that law or did not fully implement that law as they were supposed to. And now what we're seeing, not only in Virginia, but throughout the United States, are shockingly low numbers of absentee ballots being requested by U.S. service members and their spouses.
So the would-be ballots are not getting to the guys and gals who are serving for us overseas. They're supposed to be setting up these little regional offices. I mean, even in Afghanistan, correct, where the guys and the gals can go and get their ballots?
Absolutely. I mean, this was supposed to be much like what civilians receive at a driver's license branch. You walk into a driver's license branch, and one of the first questions they ask you, would you like to update your voter registration form? When Congress passed this law in 2009, they wanted the Department of Defense to do the exact same thing for service members. When they check into a new duty station, they're handed a bunch of forms. Why not give them one extra form so they can update their voter registration information?
Why wouldn't they do it? I mean, you're talking about, it's not like, I mean, it's the Pentagon. That's where these guys work, basically. Why wouldn't they be taking care of our men and women in uniform?
Well, that's a good question, and I think there are plenty of time. There's plenty of time after the election to figure out what exactly went wrong. I personally believe that part of it is just simply bureaucratic inertia. Let's face it, the Pentagon does a lot of things really well in keeping us safe, but sometimes on some of the social issues, it really just doesn't have the motivation that it has with other issues, and part of that's simply because they're focused on keeping America safe. I get that, but we're talking about a right that our service members are defending. We really have to get out there and make sure those who are on the front lines of defending freedom ought to be able to participate.
Well, it's not going to happen now. It's not going to happen. It's too late. It's five weeks before. Isn't their vote done? They're not going to get to vote.
Absolutely not. We need every service member. We've set up a website called heroesvote.org where a service member can go in very quickly, register and request an absentee ballot. It takes maybe 5 minutes. They can get it sent into their local registrar, and they'll have their ballot in 7 to 10 days. Part of that's because they can send ballots via email. It's not too late, but we need them to visit heroesvote.org so we can try to fix this mess as best we can.
They were supposed to make it easy for these guys because their number one concern when they're over there is not getting their absentee ballot. As important as the right to vote is, that's not what they're worried about, staying alive, getting back to their families, and so on. So we're supposed to be facilitating this process for them. I don't want to weigh people's votes, but I mean, if there were a hierarchy, you'd think the men and women who are out there fighting for us would have the utmost importance in terms of who they want for this presidential election. But the Pentagon is saying it doesn't have the resources. That Congress passed this law, but they didn't give them the funding to set up all the troops need so that they can facilitate the ballots being passed out. Eric.
Well, I don't buy that at all. They received an appropriation $75 million in FY11 and FY12. $75 million. To say you don't have the resources to make sure that our service members can't receive their absentee ballot and participate in this election, I just don't buy it. It's one more excuse, and I don't, it's the time for excuses are past. We can talk about excuses after the election, but now we need to make military voting the highest priority. We need to make sure that every single one of our service members get that opportunity to register and request an absentee ballot, and we need to do it now before the deadlines come upon us.
Yeah, it is. The surveys show that these voters tend to favor the Republican presidential candidate. In this election, the latest survey said it was, although this is back in May, but it said that they favored Romney 58% to Obama 34%. They tend to lean right, these military voters, but they don't all vote. And you say this year is the worst it has been in terms of the voting assistance being provided, which is really too bad. Eric, thank you.
Thank you.